were at home and stuff, when you were a little kid, what was it like for your entertainment?
We didn't have a television until I was 8 years old. We didn't have a car until I was 12 years old. And because we lived on Archer Avenue, we were able to take the Archer bus anywhere we wanted to go, downtown, places like that. As far as entertainment was concerned, church. Part of our life revolved around our church. We used to go to Riverview. Used to be an old amusement park in Chicago. We had to take the bus to go there. And for the most part, listening to the radio and just playing games and things like that. And we had a lot of prairie, a lot of open space where we lived, and we were able to, with my friends, you know, we played cowboys and Indians in the prairie and things like that in order to entertain ourselves. So those were basically the main things that we did. And then once we got the television set in the car and stuff like that, we sort of expanded a little further. But my parents, because of their background there, they were not travelers or things like that. We rarely went anywhere with the car. We rarely went anywhere further than maybe Indiana or Michigan, and that was it. We never traveled whatsoever because we just didn't do that stuff, you know.
Did you have a lot of friends who did travel and did have TVs and cars before you did?
No, we all seemed to be on the same page. Yet occasionally I had one or two friends that had a TV or a car before us. Most people had cars, I should say that, and maybe TVs and things like that. But for the most part, we were all on the same page. It was an interesting neighborhood like that, you know.
Did you have any significant challenges that you faced in your childhood?
Money. You know, we didn't have a lot of money, and if we wanted to do something, I had to have a paper out, and in order to earn money, my mother and father never gave me any money, and if I wanted to go to camp, as an example, I would have to go through the church, and in some cases, I'd have to memorize Bible verses so they could pay for half of the camp, and then I would pay for the other half from my paper out, and rarely was money ever given to us. We had to earn it. In fact, at that time, there were bottles, pop bottles we used to pick out of the prairie and get 2 cents for a pop bottle or a nickel or things like that, and take newspapers to the junkyard and things like that to earn money. That's what we had to do. We never got it from our parents. We earned it, even as a kid.
What did your parents do? What were their jobs?
My dad was a stationary engineer, which meant that he would work in these hospitals and hotels and places like that, and he would maintain the heat, the air conditioning, and stuff like that. And my mother, basically, we had a little cleaning and shoe repair shop. Now my dad did the shoe repair work on his day off, and my mother was a seamstress, and she would sew buttons and put zippers in clothes and things like that for people. So they did have a little store, and they earned some side money that way.
Were your customers, were they mostly speak Slovakian?
No, they spoke English. They were.
And your mom was able to?
Yeah, I mean, occasionally my mother would take care of the people that came in that spoke the language, but for the most part, I know I used to wait on customers. They spoke English, you know. I would tell them, you know, here's your cleaning, or here's your shoes, and $2.25, and you know, everybody knew, you know, what I was saying. You didn't have to. I did not have to speak Slovak to them.
And how would you say that the culture you grew up is different than the culture, like the American culture?
It was different because we didn't have much. We had food. We always had food. That was one good thing, that we always had food on the table, and good food, homemade food. We never went to restaurants. So the difference was we didn't have, of course, video games and things like that the kids have today. We made things. I used to sit down and make airplanes out of sticks, and they would actually fly. And we made things by hand. And we sat down and, as I said, read books or listened to the radio and read magazines and things like that. And a lot of times, a lot of this was very visual, and we would dream about what could be and things like that, you know, in terms of going. But we used to have a Viewmaster, and I used to look at the Viewmaster and be able to see what it looked like in California and Arizona, places I never had an opportunity to visit, you know. It was just dreams in my head like that. So,
when you, did you have any childhood dreams of wanting to go, or a job or something?
No, the dreams I had was I wanted to travel, and of course I achieved all those dreams once I grew up and got married and had, you know, children. I was able to travel and fulfill these dreams that I saw through the Viewmaster, you know, about going known places. I've been to a lot of those places that I actually saw. So, but we never did it. Our parents never traveled. That was all.
When you went to, where did you go? Slovakia? You said?
Mm-hmm.
What was it like there? Because you said it was really quiet.
It was very quiet. The people are very reserved. They seem like they don't, they don't spend the money that we spend on certain things. They have one car. In fact, when they came over to our country, I had an 8-passenger van, and they couldn't figure out why I had such a big car. When you go over there, their cars are very small and very fuel efficient, of course. Fuel there is a lot more expensive than it was here, but they question a lot of times about our gluttonous, you might say, for things, why we would have a large car, a large home, air conditioning, and all these things, whereas they didn't have a lot of that stuff over there.
Is it considered a sort of poor country, or?
No, it wasn't poor. They dressed well. They dressed well. They just didn't seem to go beyond normal life in terms of spending money and things like that. They just didn't like to spend the money. They were satisfied with what they had, and if they had a TV, they were satisfied with that. They had one car, they were satisfied with it. The car held 4 people, they were satisfied with that too.
But you said that they dress well. Do they dress differently than we do?
No.
They wear like jeans and stuff?
No, in fact, I noticed when we were over there that even the girls were dressing very modern with jeans and things like that, and the clothes, and they just didn't spend it going, like I said, they didn't have that kind of gluttonous of wanting to do different things, going on traveling and things like that. They were just very content. They had their own little gardens. They had beehives, vegetable gardens, and they even had chickens. And a lot of times they had little farmettes, and they would tend to their farmettes, and then that way they would grow their own vegetables in the summer. And then they would can them, and then they'd have fresh fruits and vegetables in the wintertime. So whereas we have grocery stores, we just buy the stuff. We don't even bother growing it,
This may be a weird question, but do Slovakian people have different facial, like, do they look different? Is there a way to tell what they look like?
Yeah, I don't know. I think they had more of a ruddiness type of a complexion because they're outside a lot. Like I said, tending to their gardens and things like that. They don't have that. They don't wear the Revlon like girls wear and things like that. It's just they just don't buy things like that. My mother never had lipstick. My mother never put makeup on or nothing like that. Her face and her skin and facial features were all very natural. So.
And your mom, where was your mom from? She was not from Slovakia?
No, she was Czech. The country split in two. They had the Czech Republic and they had Slovakia. And my mother was in a town in the Czech Republic called Pilsen. And my father, again, like I said, was Slovak, and he was in a town called Brezovice. And I don't believe that town is on the map because I saw it and there's nothing there, so.
Okay, and is there a conflict between those two countries? Or when they were
interesting. When we were there, we crossed the border between Slovakia and the Czech Republic, and there were guards with machine guns looking at our passports. But I don't know that. From what I hear, they're trying to mend their ways lately. So, but this was about 12, 13 years ago when